It looks like we're transported back in time to the Alps around the year 1900. There's a group of mountaineers traversing a snowy crevasse, and among them, incredibly, is a lady. She's fully dressed, right down to a corset. Imagine hiking in that. It must have been quite a challenge for her, but there she is undeterred on this adventurous journey. It's 1936 and a colossal airship, the Hindenburg, is gracefully floating past the majestic Empire State Building. It's quite a sight. The air must have been thick with tension that day, May 23rd, 1934. It was the end of a chase, the end of a story. It was the year 1861, a momentous occasion, the first inauguration of President Abraham Lincoln. Imagine a little car, a 1932 American Bantam, but not just any car. This one had a special job. It was used to ferry people across the Pudding River in Oregon. A man is at a hospital, probably picking up some smokes. It looks like it's sometime in the 1950s. It's a really old story, dating back to around 1899. Someone took a photograph underwater for the very first time. Imagine that. The year was 1900 over in China. Seems there was some sort of punishment being carried out. A diver emerges, coated in oil, after coming up from the interior of the sunken battleship, the USS Arizona. This was at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, just a few days after the attack. It was December 1941, and the days were filled with a terrible, heavy silence. These are Hamblin glasses. They're a special pair designed for reading in bed. Apparently, they were made in England, all the way back in 1936. It's a scene right out of a storybook. There's a woman, looks like Audrey, and she's in the countryside, having a lovely time. She's with a donkey, and you can just imagine the fun they're having. This must have been way back in 1955. A woman is hard at work, meticulously wiring an early IBM computer. The year was 1948, and you can just imagine the cutting-edge technology of the time. It's really fascinating to see the detail she's putting into her work. Picture a Japanese samurai sometime during the 1870s. It looks like a group of children are lined up at a librarian's desk. This was taken on April 11, 1910. The photograph might be from a collection called The Night Library. It looks like it was a wedding day. The year was 1955. I imagine there was a lot of excitement in the air. The year was 1932. You'd find a bread line in New York. Times were tough and people were struggling. It was a tense day. A young woman named Elizabeth Eckford, heading into her first day of school, walked on, seemingly unfazed. Surrounded by angry voices and shouts, she kept her gaze forward. She was one of the 9 black students, and a federal order had integrated them into Little Rock's Central High School. Gertrude Ederle accomplished something truly remarkable on August the 26th, 1926. She was the first woman to ever swim across the English Channel. And get this, she did it in 14 hours and 31 minutes. Can you imagine? She didn't just complete the swim, she actually beat the men's record, which stood at 16 hours and 33 minutes. It was a day to remember. That's for sure. Here's Winston Churchill. On the far left, there's Harriet Tubman. She's standing with a group of people who appear to be formerly enslaved. This picture was taken around 1887 in New York. In London, back in 1933, there was a cat meat seller. It's a winter day, and snow is falling. There's a park bench, and right there, outside New York City's municipal building, a couple is lost in a passionate kiss. It's 1947, and the air is crisp, but you can tell things are heating up between them. A witness trying to stay hidden is giving their testimony in a courtroom. It seems to be a drug case. This was all happening back in Washington on the 30th of April, 1952. A French neurologist named Guillaume Benjamin Amon Duchenne is hard at work. He's conducting an experiment in electrophysiology. He's using electrical probes to stimulate a subject's muscles, aiming to create specific facial expressions. This was all happening back in the mid-19th century. We're looking at a scene from around 1905. It seems to be on the Flathead Indian Reservation in Montana, where some Native American women are gathered. It was 1972. A wall was on fire and collapsing right there in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Wow, is that Dame Maggie Smith? She's on a beach, and honestly, you wouldn't recognize her. It looks like she's posing in polka dots. This must have been taken back in 1965. Down in Buckland, Connecticut, there's this scene of farm life. 3 young lads are hard at work on Hackett Farm, picking tobacco. One boy's 13 and the other 2 are 14. They're working on what's called the first picking, which means they have to sit while they do it. It's a long day for sure. It looks like a family is busy shopping. They must be preparing for something, maybe getting ready for a fallout shelter. I imagine they're gathering all sorts of supplies. Think of canned goods, maybe a first aid kit, and definitely enough water to last for weeks, maybe even months. They're probably figuring out what to get, how much to buy. A real family project, I bet. Salvador Dali is kissing Raquel Welch's hand. It seems he just finished a portrait of her, one that's still famous today. That was back in 1965. A couple, totally engrossed in something spectacular. It was back in 1968, and whatever they're looking at must have been breathtaking. You can feel the excitement, can't you? Whatever held their attention, it was something truly momentous. Hey, mister, I can fix that tire for a Coke, a cap gun, 5 army men, and a hula hoop. After the war finally ended in May of 1945, it took months to get everyone home. The transport of all those men and women was a massive undertaking, and some didn't arrive until just before Christmas. You know, the guys who didn't have a wife or girlfriend waiting for them. This is a really interesting scene. It looks like Vincent van Gogh is deep in conversation with some friends in Paris. The year would have been 1887, so it's a pretty old picture. I can only imagine what they were discussing. The year was 1904, and you could be standing in Canyon de Chelly. Chris Holly was just crowned Miss Modern Venus, and the woman who won the title the year before, Evelyn Peterson, did the honors. The runners-up, a beautiful bunch, stood beside her. The whole thing happened at Steeplechase Park, down in Coney Island, back in 1947. The women were working at Marinship Corporation. It was 1942, and they were chippers. Four horsemen right in the heart of Amsterdam. They're clip-clopping down the streets during a motorless day. That was back in 1973, you see. Cars were banned because of the oil crisis. Pretty wild, huh? During the Klondike Gold Rush, a lone prospector carefully sifted through his pan. He was searching for gold, right there in the Yukon Territory. This was back in 1898, a time when fortunes were made and lost in a flash. This is wild. Imagine Chuck Norris, the legendary martial artist, standing right alongside Bruce Lee. It's like the ultimate dream match, except they're just there. That's incredible. Sergeant Frank Prater, he was looking after a little kitten. This tiny thing was only 2 weeks old. It was all happening during the height of the Korean War. It looks like President Lyndon B. Johnson is having a good time. He's singing, and it seems he's got his dog, Yuki, right there with him. This must have been back in 1968. It's the 1950s, and you're pulling up to a classic McDonald's. The kind with the gleaming golden arches. It's like stepping back in time. You can almost smell the burgers and fries. It looks like an old Tren Articulada Ligero Goicoechea Orioles from the 1940s. Here's a look back to 1956, when animals were already playing a key role in helping people heal. This photo shows how they assisted in medical therapy sessions, really highlighting their importance in promoting patient well-being. It's Seattle back in 1907. Meet Freddie Ford, a mechanical robot. Back in the 1960s, he was designed to answer all sorts of questions. The energy in the room was electric. You could feel it crackling. It was a Big J McNeely concert, way back in Los Angeles in 1951. The fans, they were absolutely lost in the music, completely caught up in the moment. Pure joy. It was Easter 1926. A group of children are huddled around a Civil War veteran. He's riding in a cart, and 2 dogs are pulling it. They're in front of a photography studio owned by someone named C.F. Cook. The place is in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Back in 1892, you could find a hot potato vendor making his way through the bustling streets of Manhattan. He was offering a popular and simple snack to the folks of New York, trying to make a sale. Jane Russell is at work, sketching someone. Turns out, it's a portrait of Marilyn Monroe. This was all happening while they were filming Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, back in 1953. It looks like Martin Luther King Jr. is having some fun with his kids, Yolanda and Martin Luther III. They're on a ride, probably at the New York World's Fair. It must have been in 1964, back when Disney built that cool Magic Skyway attraction for the fair. Back in 1900, a mother and her children were busy at work. They were making matchboxes, a common task for families back then. It was a way to earn a little money and keep everyone occupied. 3 young women are having a blast, munching on spaghetti. They're sprawled out on inflatable mattresses, soaking up the sun somewhere near the island of Capri. It must have been a beautiful scene back in 1939. Here's a shot of Ted Spence, who's an engineer over at the Los Angeles Brush Manufacturing Corporation. He's showing off something called the hairline brush. This was all happening back on January 12, 1950. It looks like a car accident happened in Washington, D.C. back in 1921. The air hangs thick, like a whisper. It's a day where the world feels soft around the edges, all muted and gray. You know, the kind of day where the fog just rolls in and blankets everything. It feels like the secrets of the land are being held close. The very first picture of our planet from space. It was taken in 1946. Looks like we've got an American M3 Lee tank, and it's really going for it. It seems to be hitting an obstacle course, and it's getting some serious air. The scene takes place in London, sometime during the 1960s. Imagine a sunny day at Buckingham Palace. There are ducks just hanging around. They seem completely at home there, maybe even expecting a treat or two. It's a classic, peaceful sort of moment, like something out of a storybook. There's a whole line of stewardesses, all standing in front of an airplane. Sergeant Alvin York was coming home. He was returning to his mother in Tennessee back in 1919. Kids are playing in the street, using trikes and cardboard cars. It looks like they're learning about road safety somewhere in England back in 1939. It looks like John D. Rockefeller is giving a 5-cent coin to a child. This must have been back in 1929. It looks like someone's busy writing a very important letter. The date's December 4th, 1920. I bet they're carefully considering every word, hoping it makes its way all the way up to the North Pole. It was back in 1964, around the time the song Rude Boy came out. It looks like Evelyn Luff is having a grand old time. She's surrounded by her crew of St. Bernard dogs at the Abbots Pass Kennels in England. That was way back in 1935, and it looks like she's got their complete attention. Alright, so imagine the whole structure of a python, like its bones. It's a pretty incredible sight. You've got this long, flexible frame made up of hundreds of individual vertebrae. They connect, allowing the snake to twist and turn in ways you wouldn't believe. It's a fascinating example of how nature builds for both strength and agility. The scene takes us back to the 1950s, right in Middlesboro, Kentucky. It's a stark reminder of the times, focusing on the problem of illegal gambling. A whole bunch of confiscated slot machines are on display, really emphasizing just how widespread the issue was in Bell County back then. It was 1964, and a pretty legendary meeting was happening. 4 lads from Liverpool were hanging out with the one and only Muhammad Ali. You know, the boxing champ. Must have been quite a scene. It's 1945 over in India. A huge elephant is hard at work helping to get supplies ready. They're loading things up onto a big American plane. It's quite a sight, isn't it? A 6-year-old just blew everyone away. They won the cranberry pie eating contest, and it was quite a sight. This little champ devoured a 10-inch pie in a flash, 15 seconds. Can you believe it? This all happened back in 1948. It was a beautiful day. I bet you could feel the sun on your skin. Remember those days of pure, unadulterated fun? Seems like there was a group of folks absolutely loving a good leap. They were totally committed to the thrill of the moment.